Good evening, everyone. I'm Unification, the First Lady of Maryland. I am pleased to join all of you congratulate Mina Cheon on her solo exhibitions. She is a wonderful friend of mine and an inspirational artist. Mina is also a great professor at the Maryland Institute College of Art. I'm very proud of her. She is a very talented, accomplished artist. I am excited to celebrate the opening of her exhibitions. Mina's pop art and the creation that combine traditional and the new media have drawn international attention and generated a high level of global public engagement. Her artwork aims to promote the unity in the Korean peninsula and portrays the history of Korea. Please enjoy her exhibition today. Congratulations again, Mina. Thank you.
Welcome to the Korea Society. I'm Jael, Senior Director of Arts and Culture. We are thrilled to welcome you back to our 350 Madison Avenue office for this very first, probably the first in-person event in 15 months. So welcome back and welcome to our new friends. It is also great, it's so great to see you all. We would also like to extend our welcome to those of you joining us via live webcast. Our very special thanks to First Lady of Maryland, Yumi Hogan, for her warm message that you just saw. This exhibition of Mina Cheon, Dreaming Unification protest piece was made possible by generous loan and support from Ethan Cohen Gallery in New York. And to introduce Mina Cheon, I would like to welcome Ethan Cohen, the director of Ethan Cohen Gallery.
Thank you so much, Jay, for your introduction, and congratulations to Mina Cheon for this fantastic exhibition here at the Korea Society in New York City. Thank you all for coming. We have a very distinguished group of visitors here today, distinguished artists, art critics, cultural critics, collectors, and for the online audience who are streaming right now, I hope that you will have a chance to visit Mina's exhibition here at the Korea Society. It's a very important, vibrant institution in New York City. There is the Asia Society that just has had the triennial here that Mina had a wonderful exhibition in. It's a very important arts organization. So is the China Institute. And I think the Korea Society has really grown a lot, and it's impressive, the offices you have, the cultural center, and I hope that you will do much more engagement with contemporary art and culture in New York City and support the rich talent that's here, and also share with us some of your fabulous talent in Korea. And so I thank you. I want to introduce to you Mina Cheon, aka Kim Il-sun. Mina is an extraordinarily bright art activist. She has, we have collaborated over 10 years. She's in many distinguished collections, Asia Society, Smith College, and many others. She's a multi-talented professional artist. She's a professor. She's also a PhD, so I should call you Dr. Mina Cheon. She's also the newest, or one of the newest, associate deans of the Maryland Institute College of Art. And so Mina has many agendas. I think that one of the agendas that we're seeing today is really about your art practice and trying to open our eyes, the public's eyes, to Korean culture, to Korean art, to the actual reality of North and South Korea, and how they are really one country divided by two political systems. I think Mina and I came together many years ago when I was, I think, the president of a nonprofit organization in New York called White Box, and you had a proposal to do a show about North Korea, and that attracted my attention. I personally began my interest in Korean culture when I was 10 years old. Actually, I was the youngest American to visit North Korea since the Korean War. So this is 1972, and we were invited, my family, to visit North Korea, and we were trying to begin to have a dialogue of friendship between the United States and North Korea. At that time, Americans were not allowed to visit North Korea. In fact, we had to go to the American embassy, and they had to cross out North Korea in our passport so we could visit. And Mina really wanted to show compassion about the people of North Korea and South Korea, and that even though that you may be divided politically, you are all human beings. We all matter. We should be one people. And I think that this idea, the political agenda to show there's humanity in North Korea, even though that you're a South Korean and politically maybe you don't always agree, but down to earth, they're human beings in North Korea. And even if at the time Obama or it was Clinton or if it was Biden, if these presidents in the United States don't necessarily see eye to eye with the leader of North Korea, there can still be a dialogue between the people. And in fact, there wasn't this dialogue happening. So Mina, as an artist, an art activist, decided to be engaged, where she wanted to try to make a difference as though she were a North Korean artist. You took on this persona, and that you wanted to show that you were a human being, that you could love, that you could care, that your needs were just like needs of a South Korean or an American, and that we as a people, individual, an art dealer, myself, you as an artist, Mina Cheon, you could be friends with whoever, even though maybe the governments don't get along. And I think that that type of art activism and awareness about South Korea and North Korea, that maybe this idea of unification one day could happen, you're trying to educate us, to open our eyes. And I think that as it shows how art can be a great tool for maybe soft power, that maybe politically it doesn't work, but through art, we can begin to at least have a dialogue. And I think that that is really, I think that you've gone on NPR in the United States. You've gone on Voice of America. You've had projects where you've tried to reach out to educate the world about what is art. And you've tried to educate people in North Korea through your videos that were shown at the Triennial, the Asia Society. So you're Mina Cheon is a full force artist who's very engaged. And I think that I congratulate you on what you've achieved, and I look forward to what you will achieve in the future. And so I introduce you, Mina Cheon.
Hello. Thank you first to the First Lady of Maryland, Yumi Hogan, who shared her video message with remarks of congratulations and support for taking your time to be here in spirit on this very special occasion. I cherish our friendship and for the support you've given me as an artist, and for the supporting of arts in Maryland. I am deeply honored to be here. Thank you everyone, new and old friends, for making it today, for those who made it in person, and others tuning in web live cast, excuse me, the clicker. I thank the Korea Society, and especially J.O., the Senior Director of Arts and Culture, who brought my work here. I thank the staff of the Korea Society and the President and CEO, Tom Byrne, and the Board of Directors, Chairman Kathleen Stevens, who I've known and met since her time as the ambassador of the USA to South Korea, who's a champion of arts and culture. I'm grateful for the opportunity to share my recent works about the Koreas with the theme of One Korea, dreaming unification, and protesting for global peace. I'm blessed that with all of your support, I've been able to share the work that I deeply care about and hope that our efforts together can further educate and shed light on the paths towards reconciliation within the Koreas. Thank you to Ethan Cohen for your introduction. I am humbled by the many ways you have given me support as one of your gallery artists. I felt pretty lifted when I met you over a decade ago. You took fascination in my many areas of artistic concern, in particular, that of the geopolitical plight of North and South Korea. It has been a very full adventure working with you all this time. You generously and graciously allowed me to launch many new projects with shows that featured my North Korean alter ego, Kim Il-sun, choco pies, videos sent into North Korea, global peace shoes, cleaning your gallery Korean mother style, and Unification Flags. And through your family, friends, supporters, Jerry Cohen, Joan Cohen, Malik Kalan, and others, I'm surrounded by a global village of cultural supporters. Your and their daily interludes and advices have helped me to do the work that I do and keep going, and having a venue to keep showing. My presentation today is a compilation of new and old thoughts. I've even borrowed from my past writings and artists' talks so that this thought piece, or possibly a manifesto, rides on many topics of my interest related to communication, community, transnational identity, protests, practice, and performance of an artist. This is an opportunity to write her story that is somewhat molded before me and before my time. I call myself a diaspora Korean artist with ancestral traits from the northern Korean regions now known as North Korea, with the last name Chun from China and coming from Mongolia. I've inherited some of the transhistoric and intergenerational trauma of Korean history and its misfortunes. Our country's ancient belief and practice of shamanism is one that exists to undo the misfortunes by ritualizing the healing process. Might that be today by eating some choco pies? As an effective shaman would, the path of the ritual is dark, but the life of an artist is received. Korea is a rich example for its complexities, cultural paradoxes, and contradictions. The schism created by the division between North and South Korea is an extension of the Cold War, layered by the traumatic history of colonization, war, and the aftermath that reinforces the complexities and dualities that exist in its social fabric. Accepted by most as it is what it is to be Korean, but certainly challenged by new generations. My generation X is stuck in Korean old time and new. Many of us living between countries, myself Korean, yet American, Western and Eastern, with colliding values I piece together as a forced hybridity and transnational identity. My country is split as North and South Korea, but the splintering forces extends itself in other ways. Progressive and conservative politics, severe gender division servicing a distinctive Confucius Korean patriarchy, protested by every Korean woman I know. At this time, art and life comes together for me, and protest is recognized as an art practice. Art activism for social justice work is a necessary cultural expression of our time that exists here and over there, as protesting is nothing new to Korea. Certainly, I am not the only Asian in America to say Black Lives Matter always. And thank you for stopping Asian hate, as all these things relate. Tracing Korea's modern protests of pro-democracy, they existed since post-Joseon dynasty and under Japanese colonial rule as marches. The simultaneous embrace of modernization and westernization promotes ideas of human rights and independence, which in turn fermented the seeds to help liberate Korea from Imperial Japan. But the desire for human liberation and rights continue today with inter-Korean peace efforts from both sides of North and South Korea, creating elasticity beyond the contours of its own nation state. Korea has been flooded with protests as people rise. 시민, citizens, 민중, the people's movement, they cascade as markers of a performing nation that seeks a catalyst for change at each turn. From the Yu Guan-sun-led March 1st, 1919 independence movement from Japanese colonization, anti-military government Gwangju uprising in the 80s, Im Soo-kyung's legendary peace walk through the DMZ in 1989, to the 2016 candlelit democracy protest that led to the 2017 impeachment of the last President Park Geun-hye, and the plethora of uprisings that continues to surge. 2018 #MeToo of Korea, weekly Wednesdays Comfort Women protests in front of the Japanese embassy in Seoul, anti-Japanese boycott Japan, Korea's pride parades. Out of these forms of protest, many Korean women, LGBTQIA+, laborers, students, and intellectuals have taken sides to rise. Even in America, I have not yet met a contemporary artist who attends rallies, but I've met many who protest. Parades, peace walks, and protests work in alignment to the artistic practice, declaring individual and collective performativity as modes of subverting norms, hegemonies, governing powers, and established laws. The marginalized and outcast, those who remain in the periphery, are layered by common threads related to justice and peace works. And as an artist, working within the times, may use all the language and tools of the arts, but can make work with a message and directives imparted by our culture of awareness. My artistic medium is my conscience. I share, therefore I am. Coming from this protest culture and backdrop, I, Mina Cheon, who works, performs, practices art as Kim Il-sun, her North Korean art persona, exhibits their new art by the same title of the show here, Dreaming Unification Protest Peace. The works were first exhibited at the Ethan Cohen Gallery last winter at the height of the pandemic and before vaccination rollouts. We, Ethan and I, braved to raise the flags, the Korean Unification Flags, that allowed a second extended life here at the Korea Society. The flags are figures and they are raised high and in line like a procession of a parade. My concurrent solo exhibition you see here is directly connected to the Asia Society Triennale presentation, as well as the exhibition at the Waterfall Mansion and Gallery, as a larger interconnected artistic investigation into the complex ties, histories, and conundrums between the two Koreas and the biases many non-Koreans have about these issues. In North Korea, that's the Asia Society. In North Korea, continued spectacles arise with ongoing threats. We've witnessed the blowing up of Inter-Korean Liaison Office building at Kaesong on June 16th last year, and the 75th anniversary Workers' Party military celebration on October 10th, parading new ICBMs last fall. In South Korea, while pro-democracy uproars, the consumption continue with the riches and the lands. Frankly, the ongoing struggles for reconciliation between a me-first capitalist state, South Korea, and the secret underground human rights activism of North Korea has been a tenuous, ongoing desire to unify in the precarious state and predicament of a split country. The arc of my work in response has been about what is possible to transmit and work between the Koreas for sharing, streaming, communicating, and dreaming unification, and global peace as a kind of yearning for my country, my land, my people, my family. Since my work is about communication between self and other, it is about crossing borders and blurring boundaries. It is about sharing choco pies with the world, video art history lessons with North Koreans, receiving paintings from them, and sneaking around painting unification flags in secret and in dreams. It is in the dream worlds and in the world of the imagination and the stream of the collective unconscious that we could work the future, spilled out into fragments of our social reality. While pre-COVID headlines related to North Korea was the buzz of Yo-Yo Ma performing at the heavily fortified DMZ on September 9, 2019, calling for peace and the building of bridges across cultures, the short-term effects of music, entertainment, or athletic competition to bridge peace on warfares feel unsatisfactory, relying on fabricated catharsis that cannot compensate 70 years of separation between Korean families. The unification flags waved by the joint North and South Korean athletic teams during the 2018 Pyeongchang Olympics was only a momentary bliss for our Koreas. And I think back to the moment I got to ride on a bus right through the DMZ from South Korea to North Korea in 2004, visiting Kumgangsan. Back then, I could never imagine the future when Trump gets to jump over to the other side like jump roping or hopscotching. Nor did I see a future where a North Korean soldier who ran across the DMZ for his life and was shot wakes up from the surgeries in South Korea asking for a choco pie. So I've become a fan of peace and decided that we must protest for peace by walking, dreaming, eating, and sharing. I walk for peace in global peace shoes, and so do my friends around the world. Since one foot cannot move forward without the other, the left cannot move without the right. I've started to dream unification, where my North Korean art persona Kim Il-sun ventures into stencil work, spraying, tagging in her dreams, to continuously wave the flag that has fallen since the Olympics, and to offset the discouraging chaos and cancel peace talks in the peninsula. We eat choco pie together, the food for art and healing. The South Korean manufactured choco pie marshmallow cookie cake that is worth 3 bowls of rice in North Korea and remains a strong currency in the black market, a favorite smuggled good, was sent by thousands in helium balloons over the DMZ and circulated within North Korean black market for years. The choco pie today is no doubt a cultural symbol of love and peace within the Koreas. I dedicated 100,000 choco pies to the North Korean defectors, and they were consumed by art lovers and global peace lovers alike at the 2018 Busan Biennale at the site of the Busan Contemporary Art Museum. Sponsored by the choco pie manufacturing company Orion of South Korea, even the South Korean President Moon Jae-in and First Lady Kim Jong-suk came to eat choco pie together. For the Asia Society Triennale in New York, titled We Do Not Dream Alone, co-curated by Boon-Hui Tan and Michelle Yun Mapplethorpe, the physical installation event that was supposed to happen at Lincoln Center a couple of years ago had to go virtual during the pandemic times. To respond to our socially distant time with the coronavirus, Ken Tan, who served as the executive director of global artistic programs of the Asia Society, approached me with this digital initiative, eatchocopie.together.com. The website allows people to stay connected by sending virtual choco pies to loved ones with custom messages, clicking on the map of Korea, and selecting an artistically designed package I designs with the theme of love, peace, share, eat, and unite, referencing things we need right now, whether we are in divided Korea or in the United States of America. And each participation of sharing the pies automatically raise funds for Korean Americans affected by the coronavirus through the Korean American Community Foundation COVID-19 Action Fund to help with things like Korean language COVID hotline, increased domestic violence counseling, meal delivery, shelter for the homeless, and with the rise of anti-Asian racism, programming to address the social problems. Since the launch of eatchocopie.together.com on August 15th last year, which is Korean Liberation Day from Japanese colonization, and which is the only national holiday celebrated by North and South Korea, thousands of people have taken action to share and eat virtual choco pies, to take a bite for global peace, and it is still available online. Dreaming Unification, Eating Choco Pies, Walking for Peace, and information media penetration into North Korea are all works being done as an artist to cross over borders and boundaries, to cross over the DMZ that physically separates North and South Koreans. As global activism art projects, my work is intended to infiltrate the Korean psyche by calling on peace dreaming for unification. From dream worlds to underground worlds, I've been sending contemporary video art history lessons into North Korea through USB drives, SD cards, and media carriers for the last several years with the help of North Korean defector activists in South Korea and intermediaries who frequently do cross many border lines between Korea, China, and Russia. I do this with love and with a message to North Koreans that I love you and the world loves you. The videos are created with North Koreans in mind and with specific visual and popular media language likened to a children's TV show for accessibility as well as security reasons. In them, Professor Kim Il-soon purposefully gives prescribed global art history lessons against the backdrop of North Korean receivers who are mostly familiar with state-sanctioned propaganda art of North Korea. My sources and inspiration for this work comes from existing scholarships related to North Korea's hidden revolution. The video series include art history lessons on Marcel Duchamp, Andy Warhol, Ai Weiwei, Mark Bradford, Nam June Paik, Sharon Nishad, Kim Soo-ja, and many others, and focuses on topical themes of modern and contemporary art such as art, life, food, reproduction, feminism, social justice, and the environment. The real message, however, is about the human rights for education. From the other histories of secluded countries, hermit kingdoms, totalitarian societies that too have opened up, from the Arab Spring to the foreseeable Pyongyang Spring, it is possible to rise up from within with media in one hand and freedom in the other. My extended work I now call asynchronous communication with North Korean citizens, exemplified by the Last Supper that was hanging at the Asia Society Museum, painted by anonymous North Korean painters who also risked their lives painting it, was presented alongside the videos and Notel players at the Asia Society Triennale, and to be showcased with more flags, videos, and paintings from North Korea in an upcoming solo show at the American University Museum at the Kotzon Arts Center in Washington, D.C. in 2022. It will feature communication and dreaming coming from both sides of the peninsula. As its first public presentation, The Last Supper was sent to me to funnel support for human rights in North Korea. The painting is key to understanding another level of ongoing exchanges between North and South. This Korean diptych, Unification Flag, with Korean word uri, we, us, down the center, includes the Korean Han and pro-democracy sentiments. Many contemporary Korean artists, workers of social justice, and keepers of peace, like myself, belong to a wide nexus of Korean artists working with post-Minjung democracy art lineage and responding to the fraught relation between North and South Korea. As such, many BIPOC American artists today in the United States are global allies to a common effort to stop hate, ignorance, and structural racism at the forefront. And yes, racism is rampant in Asia. Hate Korea wave, hate Japan wave, hate China wave are blockbuster mangas, while disguised and bracketed as nationalist, classist, and other forms of humanity crimes. The diptych painting created by Kim Il-sung while in her dreams and while protesting for Korean unification and global peace was not a one-of, but coming from a serial process from a stream of unconscious dream paintings that have been in the making for over 10 years. The AKA Kim Il-sung is pertinent to understanding the basis of reading my work, because my art practice as both Chun and Kim parallels the split of the Koreas. And the rest from the Unification Flag painting series here at the Korea Society hits a different chord from the Kim Il-sung's previous dream painting styles, that are from social realism, socialist realism, pop art, abstract expressionism, dip, and drip abstraction that is brought to light with the greatest sense of urgency. It is now an aesthetic arrest of street graffiti, stencil, and tagging, forms of protest art styles. It goes without saying, I'm a Korean transnational female diaspora artist living and working in the United States, dealing with transhistoric, transgenerational Korean trauma, the inclusion of these contextual fields and using conscience and soft power in creating art, demonstrate artistic responses for countering scattered hegemonies, walls, borders of our increasingly cultural, ideological, political, and economic divisions. It is the working of an artist in a time of the woke era, and this is where my piece starts sounding like a manifesto. Woke is a vernacular term that became popular with the protest culture of Black Lives Matter movements, mean being awakened to social justice and racism. It is a way of being or being with it, and a way of seeing and of no return. Since when one succumbs to social awareness, one becomes conscious to the world around them, and there is no turning back. The artist's conscience bridges art and life. To create paths to greater social projects that take on issues and to be awoken by them in relation to power, race, gender identity, politics, economics, and the environment. An artist working with the social medium has to deal with the temporality of existence, conflict, and awareness. The work is a response to the environment and the time that we live in. Materials to work with are that of people, life, culture, power. Just as the philosophical and psychological construct of the self has changed, the concept of borders in relation to the body must change. And while we live in an age where identity is flexible, information is free on Zoom land, and bodies are celebrated as adaptable, permeable, transmitted, digitized, shared, expressed, the metaphors of a boundless body and hyper-digital extensions by choice remain for those who can choose, the privileged, who are vaccinated from the zombie apocalypse, whereas those on the other side or from the lines drawn apart have no access to security, safety, and health, who is not allowed the freedom of exit and entry, and the double jab differs from those who are confined in camps and poverty lines. The myths and stereotypes that could create the bodily other, the racial other, minority foreigner, or their queer body against the protected citizen's body exist in social structures and fabrics of power and hierarchy that stratify, separate, and keep those in power intact, and the lesser so from basic human rights. So artists, being woke to the urgency of our time, are cultural agents of change and can use culture as a weapon to share a different kind of response when it comes to rethinking about borders and bodies and where our protest lies. In my case, do I dare dream for the liberation of my other selves, of the North Koreans who are of my own kind? If we could take care of our vulnerable others, can we get somewhere in life? From the divided Koreas to the divided United States of America, desiring peace over there echoes desiring peace over here. Art must continue as a banner of hope and an essential in life. I will end with an edited down video clip of Professor Kim in Art History Lesson 7, explaining her art and giving an artist's talk of sorts to North Koreans. Thank you. Thank you so much for your time.